The goal of this episode is to save you years of doing things improperly and struggling. And I know a lot of people who spend 3+ years just doing stuff incorrectly.
And that could be a primary reason why you're not seeing change. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
His co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house. And today we're going to be talking about 8 shocking mistakes that you're probably making in the gym. Now, I want to give you credit for showing up to the gym, whether you work out at a local club or you work out at your house and you have some gym equipment. Shout out to you because you're looking to better yourself and you're looking to make some next level gains. So I've got to give you some credit where credit's due. Now, the goal of this episode is to save you years of doing things improperly and struggling. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way, and I know a lot of people who spend 3+ years just doing stuff incorrectly, and it's just not fun. It's not fun showing up, investing your time, and then just knowing, oh man, I could have been doing this better, or this could have been more optimized. Now, the first and one of the most common mistakes that I still see to date is having a strength training ratio with cardio and other things that are just out of proportion. So what I mean by this is that some people will go to the gym for, strength train, let's say for 20 minutes, and then they do 30 minutes of cardio and 15 minutes of stretching, right? So what you realize from that proportion right there is that there's very little strength training and there's a lot of other stuff. Now, for most people, a lot of you listening to this, you want to become healthier, you want to lose fat, you want to become stronger, you want to become more lean and toned and tightened. And if you can get to the point where your workout proportion is mostly strength training in comparison to the other things, you'll be in a really good spot. For myself, when I go to the gym, it's somewhere over an hour of strength training and then 10 to 15 minutes of sauna and shower. And that's really it. I save stretching for another time, maybe at home, and I do cardio while I'm walking. And I see a lot of people, because they're uncomfortable with strength training machines and they're just not new, they're kind of new to it, right? So they kind of get a little bit scared where you see a squat rack, you see machines, and you're like, oh, well, I only know how the elliptical works. I'm just going to go use the treadmill. And a lot of people are worried about kind of trying those other things. So they just end up doing cardio and stretching, which isn't exactly going to get the results that you're striving for.
Number 2, you knew is coming, but bear with me. I'm going to give you some high-level tips. That's simply having bad form. Now, a ton of people can fall into this category. You might think you're covered, but you may not be. There's some general things you want to avoid. And first and foremost is using too much weight, which I'm sure you guessed, but also using too little weight. If you're using too little weight in the gym, and more people fall into this than they might think, and an easy way to know if you're using too little weight is if you're trying to do 8 reps, keep going one time, see what happens. And if you end up doing 10, 12, 14, 20 reps, that weight is way too light and you got to up it. And that could be a primary reason why you're not seeing change. You want to push yourself near failure, but not quite to failure. And when you use too much weight, the problem is you're really selling yourself short. You're not going to work in a full range of motion because you're going to fatigue out. It's going to cause you to do half reps. Half reps will build half muscles. If you want to build like healthy muscles that can move through full motions, full movement patterns, it's really important you start a little bit lighter and learn to advance into some higher weights. The other problem with using weight that's way too heavy is past even the partial reps and partial reps, actually, I want to get into that. There's inconsistency. Great example, think squat, think bench press. Squat, if I don't squat to parallel and I'm just squatting deep enough, that is going to change over time. And I was that person. I started squatting. I think I was going close to parallel and I started adding weight, becoming the man. And before you know it, those squats weren't looking good. And I had to have a hard adjustment. I had to relearn my entire squat pattern. Same with benching. If you're not touching your chest, it's really hard to gauge what is close to your chest. Because if you're going halfway, sometimes, especially when that weight gets heavier, halfway can become a quarter, and it can be really inconsistent to know if you're actually improving and growing in your lifts. Additionally, if you're swinging and recruiting other muscle groups into it, especially your back, you can put yourself at more risk of getting hurt in the gym to take away more results, but even worse, to not work the muscles you're trying to work. You're just going to be selling yourself short and limiting your own gains. So we have 2 great solutions to this. If you don't know much about us, and even if you're new to this podcast, we actually started out as YouTubers and we did a lot of vlogs, a lot of fun things, but we have millions and millions of views, almost 50 million views now, primarily from our form videos. We help help people that struggle with form do better. And even if you think you have good form, I assure you we have some high level tips for you to learn how to improve your form. So first and foremost, a gift from me to you. I want you to take advantage of this. I have a free form guide. This is going to show you what to do, what not to do, common mistakes and common cues to remember, as well as visuals for what the start and finish of each exercise looks like. This is like having a personal trainer in your pocket. Reviewing it before a set or reviewing it for additional confirmation is going to be your best friend, and that is available to you in the first link, totally free. Second, I'm going to include my entire Fix Your Form playlist. So every form video I've ever made, you can go ahead and check that out. If you're a big YouTube person, make sure to subscribe to me and Kyle as well. We're really gunning for 200,000 subs this year, and I'm very confident we're going to knock that out. Maybe we'll push for 250,000. We'll see what happens. We got some big plans this year for growth, all in all, and we want to thank you for being a listener and give you both of those free gifts so you can pick and choose which one you want, or even better, grab both.
Yeah. And next up, number three is Josh mentioned a bit, but I'm going to have to stress this a ton. Not pushing yourself. So I find once people get into the gym, it's awesome, right? You start to pick up some dumbbells, you're challenging yourself with some machines and all that great stuff. But a lot of people are afraid to be uncomfortable, right? So if you're doing a hamstring curl, so often someone will just do a hamstring curl and then stand up and they're like, okay, cool, what's next? Like they're ready to jump to the next thing. But what I find happens with a lot of people is they end up leaving 7 to 10 reps left in the tank. And so what I mean by this is when you finish a set of squats, if I were to say, how many more could you do? You could probably do 7, 8, 9, 10. And so what I learned from this is that you're not pushing yourself. The stimulus isn't there for you to actually become truly stronger, to gain more muscle, to lose more fat. You're just going through the motions. So it's funny because one of the greatest quotes I heard, I think it was from like Muhammad Ali or something like that. Is like, maybe it was Arnold, like, hey, when do you start counting your reps? It's like when it hurts, when it starts to burn. And I think it's such a good principle because you shouldn't be ego lifting like the stuff Josh was talking about, but you should get to the point where most exercises you could probably comfortably do 2 reps left afterwards. If you're doing a heavy set of bench press, you should probably be able to do 1 to 2 reps left afterwards. You shouldn't be going to failure because you usually will need a spot and it can get a little bit wonky there, but you shouldn't be doing a bench press and leaving 12 reps left in the tank. You're just there to be there, right? And that's where it gets kind of challenging. And so one thing I want to challenge you with as you're in the gym this week is to try to up your weight. Worst case scenario, you would have to go back, you'd have to go to a previous weight, but I can promise you 90+% of people can increase their weights. And another fun fact that a lot of people forget about is that you can use small little plates. You can use the 2.5s on the cable stack. You can use the 2.5-pound plates. A lot of people will only go up in bigger increments and they totally forget that they can make these small jumps. I promise you, when you start to incorporate it, you're going to become stronger and you're going to be much happier that you challenge yourself in the gym.
My next tip that's probably killing your results in the gym is worrying what other people think of you. So many people are too scared to go to that area of the gym because it's only for strong people. It's only to use a squat rack if you're only using the bar. Everyone has a right to be in the gym. Everyone is there to improve themselves and become better. People aren't judging you, and I'm sure you think they are, and maybe there's some weirdo who is. I haven't really met anyone like that. Even for me, generally, I just look around and see the things people are doing well, and even when I see something silly, I don't think much of it because maybe I don't know the full situation, and in general, I'm just proud to see people in there getting after it and improving. And even I've had people before be like, oh, you do glute pull-throughs? Doesn't that kind of look weird? And I'm like, I don't really care. Like, if it gets me results, like, I'm not trying to look like the coolest person in the gym here. And I think in general, the people that just kind of glide around the gym, and when you've done it for a while and you have a confidence, like, you're going to look good as long as you're being respectful and you're not taking things away. Like, no one's going to think you look silly. And in general, like, overthinking anything in the gym isn't worth it. A great example, literally yesterday, I was doing like a pull day and I was mixing in some rear delts. So I was looking over to a cable and I wanted to do cross arm cable of rear delt fly, which is also in our free form guide there. If you haven't done that, it's an amazing movement. So there was a girl on a machine and on one of the cable stacks, and she was doing that movement. And I'm like, oh shoot, like if I go there, I'm going to do the same movement. It's going to be weird. The other cable stack open, and I did the same movement as her, whatever. And I was doing my sets, kind of zoned out, just thinking. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my cable curls next, right? I look over, the girl's doing cable curls, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to look like an absolute freak if I do my cable curls now. But I'm like, I'm not changing my exercise. Like, it really isn't that serious. The person probably didn't even notice me, but it's pretty funny. Like, these two really like not commonly done movements were specific to me that I made in my program. So unless you like read my brain, I don't know. But so funny things like that. In general, people are really nice. Even conversations, the people you'll meet. The gym is not a scary place. I've been there so long. I've only had like one or two weird interactions, which we've spoken about, and people have been so positive. I met so many amazing people. It's a really friendly place, especially relative to the rest of the world, because these are people that want to grow, they want to be fit. You're all exercising, you're excited. So don't miss out on exercise because you're scared to start or you might look silly, and you're never going to learn if you don't go through that learning phase.
Yeah, and something I heard like a while back that really stuck with me is that oftentimes most people are thinking about how they're looking to others, right? So if you see someone kind of staring or whatever, a lot of times what's going through their head is like, I wonder if these people think I'm jacked. I wonder if people are noticing how strong I am. Most people are thinking about themselves. So just a reminder, like if you see that jack person just kind of staring or whatever, like they're probably just focused on themselves, they're doing their own thing, and it's a really good reminder that like people are there to better themselves. So I'm glad Josh mentioned that. But next up is just rest time that's either too long or too short. Now there is no perfect time for rest time, but I will say usually when it comes down to compound lifts, squat, bench press, deadlift, overhead press, I'd say between 2 to 4 minutes is a good range to be in. And then any accessories, I know it's a wide range, but anywhere between 45 and 90 seconds, right? Tricep push down, you might be in the 45-second range. Walking lunges, you might be a minute and a half or something like that, right? But oftentimes people just don't really think about this stuff. They talk a little bit too much. Some people are way too quick as well, right? That's why I had to mention both. But I've noticed a lot of people who have done Pilates and classes and all that other stuff, they're like way too quick. And then they're not going to be able to push themselves enough. They're just so focused on getting to that next thing, and they're not going to get the results that they're striving for. But then on the other end, all the chatty people, the ones who are, talking up a storm, like if you work out with us, like we'll have buddies there, but we're on it. Like we'll have conversations, but like we're good at moving at the pace that we should, at cutting off a conversation when we should. Whereas I know some people will be like I've seen guys standing near me where we've done our 3 exercises each, and they've still been chatting like 9 minutes later and they haven't hit a set, right? When once again, if you're there to socialize, cool. If you're catching up with someone, no problem. But at the same time, you have to be careful because it can very easily turn into just a huge conversation the entire time. And then next thing you know, you did like no exercises.
The next shocking thing that you're likely doing in the gym is just doing the easy stuff. If it's hard for a reason. It's probably good for you. Squats, deadlifts, benching, lunges, split squats. These are phenomenal movements. And if you're just going in the gym and you're like, hey, you're just making it up as you go. It's leg day and you're like, hey, the adductor's open. I'm going to go to the quad extension. You're not just going to casually be like, okay, let me do my barbell squats now. And if you're just making up a routine, you're bouncing around, you're doing the easy machines, you're on your phone, you are shooting yourself in the foot and you are not going to get the results you deserve. That's where having a dedicated routine, doing some things you don't like, pushing through it. I did not want to do lunges today. I did not want to do barbell squats today. I did not want to do heavy hip thrusts, but I got them done because I know it's going to help me grow. And it's fun also having a cadence and a rhythm to your workout. Like to me, I did my heavy movements, and then obviously if you're on a really good program, these things will be considered. But then I use my calf raises like a time to catch my breath, regain myself before my lunges. So there should be a good ebb and flow. You shouldn't just be doing things that beat you up and destroy your central nervous system. A good routine should be like a song or a dance. It should have its crescendos, its highs, its lows, its build up. It should have all these different things. And once again, like this is something I specialize in. I love making high level programs, helping people gain more muscle faster. If you want to learn more about my coaching, I'll put that there as a third link. You can check out my website, colossfitness.com, see the amazing transformations myself, Kyle, and our team have created and why you should be the next one. No pressure.
Yeah, and I'm really glad Josh mentioned that because I was looking into a recent stat, and number 7 here, by the way, is not following a properly periodized routine, but 60 to 80% of people in the gym are just not following a routine. Now, once again, I want to give you credit for showing up, the fact that you're there, the fact that you're willing to challenge yourself. Don't get me wrong. But what ends up happening is that when you're not following a routine, you just pick the most random exercises. And it's funny because I was following one of the leg days that Josh put together recently, and it killed me. We had squats, we had hip thrusts, we had some sort of stiff leg deads, and we had a leg press. I was dead. And then there was one time where I wasn't following a routine in the past, and I did the abductor, I did quad extension, I did hamstring curl, and I did calves. And it's like there's a very clear difference as to like what is actually going to produce change. And so with that, I highly, highly encourage you to get on a dedicated strength training program, have something super consistent, because it'll get you to do the harder stuff, as number 6 was, right? It'll get you to show up and do the movements that you probably don't want to do. And it's going to help you not just show up. And like, I see so many dudes do this. They walk into the gym, they look for a bicep curl, they start doing curls, and then they'll do a chest press machine. And it's just so random. And so having something that's created for you makes such a big difference. Honestly, I look back to my days in fitness where I feel like I was struggling the most, and I just didn't have something created for me. And now I have, in my favorites album, I've got the workout routine right there. I pull it up each time, or I follow Josh when he's there, and I can just copy him. But honestly, it makes such a big difference. Please, please, please follow a routine. It's just going to make such a big difference on your journey.
And last but not least, you thought you were going to get away with it. You thought we were only talking about the gym today, but treating nutrition as an afterthought. You can only get so far in the gym if your nutrition isn't there. You probably heard it a million times. You can't out train a bad diet, but it's true. It's really important if you want to progress in the gym, whether it's putting on muscle, whether it's losing fat, whether it's improving your composition. Optimize for nutrition. Make sure you're on top of your protein. Make sure you understand your calories. Make sure you understand your nutritional phasing, and that your nutrition is actively supporting your goals. And I'm going to take it a step further with 8.5, obviously getting sleep. Sleep can be your performance enhancing drug. That's been my recent mantra because I have less control of my sleep right now. So I want to just control as much as I can, optimize for that, because it's crazy. The other day I had such a nice sleep, like a 10 out of 10. It felt amazing. Everything about it was great. I went to bed super early. It was super deep. I didn't wake up, and I was training, and I'm like, I feel like a freaking, like just a savage, like a superhero in here. I was unstoppable. It was crazy, the difference. Whereas the days like today, I didn't have a great sleep. My kids woke me up at like 5. It was an early start to the day, and I didn't get to bed as early as I would have liked. And I was limping through that leg day. It was tough. So understand, if you want to improve in the gym as well, nutrition, sleep, all these extra factors do play a role. You can't just ignore them. You got to take care of yourself, and that's going to give you an extra edge. But that is 8 things you might be shocked by. There may be some personal reflection. We're sorry if we called you out. We only do it because we love you. So now you know what you need to improve. And I encourage you to use Kyle's example of this week. Get in the gym, try to up your weights on every exercise that you think is possible for you to do so. If it doesn't feel right, you could always stop and drop it down. If you miss some reps, you could always change that weight again. But I think you may surprise yourself that you're able to do a bit more. And I challenge you to continue doing that. And with that will come more results, more muscle, more gains, and a fitter, healthier, and happier life. So if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or share it to your Instagram story. We haven't asked for that in a while. If you share the actual episode to your story and tag us, we'd love to see that. We'd love to reshare it, give you some love, all of that great stuff, because it really makes our day to know you appreciate this episode. We want people to get better results in the gym, especially if you're new for the new year. We don't want you to miss out for that. So make sure to share this episode to your story. Tag us at ClossFit, COLOSSUSFIT. Make sure to grab your free form guide. Check out our coaching, all that great stuff. We'll see you on Monday for Motivation Monday. Peace out.